Bro, the US literally checks every box regarding fascism. Let's see. What are the boxes of fascism? Powerful and continuing nationalism. Okay, nationalism on its own is not fascist, but okay, we'll take this as one part. Disdain for the recognition of human rights. How does the US have a disdain for the recognition of human rights? What do you think? We have like a whole... What? Identification of enemies / scapegoats as a unifying cause. This is every single human being all the time does this. You're literally doing it right now against fascists. Supremacy of the military. Even when there are widespread domestic problems, military is given a disproportionate amount of government funding. The domestic agenda is neglected. We spend so much money on... I don't think people realize... We should go over, like, the government budget sometimes. I don't know if people know the difference. Like, we do not spend the majority of our money...
You may skip this dono.
Thank you. We do not spend the majority of our money on our military. There are two chunks of our federal spending. You have discretionary spending, which is of that spending we spend the majority of our budget on. But then we have a whole other chunk called non-discretionary spending, which are, I think, like mainly entitlements, right? It's like Social Security and other forms of welfare distribution or whatever. I think I'd have to go look up the breakdown. But like we spend like 4 times more. Is it 4? I should look up. Hold on. So I know the numbers. Discretionary versus non-discretionary spending. Wait, U.S. budget. Oh, they call it mandatory spending, not non-discretionary, sorry. Mandatory spending for 2020 was $4.6 trillion. Our military budget is $700 billion, which is the majority of, or it's the largest line item on our discretionary spending. But I'm not saying that we shouldn't spend more domestically. We should. But like people that are like, we spend more money on our military than anything else we spend. No, that's not true. Like, I don't know what. Rampant sexism. Bro, what? Opposition to to abortion is high, as is homophobic anti-gay legislation. What does that have to do with sexism? Is being homophobic being sexist now? Controlled mass media. The United States does not run our media. Obsession with national security. What does that mean? I mean, like, to some extent, isn't everybody kind of obsessed? Like, these are also, like, ambiguous. Who is this written by? Probably some dipshit on Twitter. Religion and government are intertwined. This used to be kind of cringe for the United States, but I don't think it's, like, ultra intertwined, no? Like, we don't have, like, Sharia law for Catholics. Corporate power is protected? Every single country on the planet protects their corporations. I said, of course. What do you mean? What? Labor power is suppressed. I mean, we've got pretty big, the teachers union is pretty big. The United Auto Workers are pretty big. I mean, we could always have more unions in the US, but disdain for intellectuals and the arts. We have some of the best higher education schools in the world.
Just want to say
somehow.
Thank you for being reasonable and helping to pull people like me away from the reactionaries.
They are confusing all state tools for maintaining stability in society with all fashion. Yeah, like I feel like basically, no, fuck. I'm fucked. I'm fucked, actually. Because I already said they're going to, somebody go like, don't you think that basically every single Western European country could fall on this? And he'll go, yeah, that's how widespread fascism is. That's where the whole argument would go. And I'll go like, oh, okay, well. Jesus. Bro, apparently this guy, a 71-year-old white woman, was praising the work of an 80-year-old black woman, but, or I'm sorry, 80-year-old black man, but she accidentally referred to him as colored instead of black. And then everybody's lost their minds. Tell me this does not sound like the most snowflakey fucking Twitter thread in the world. So the romancing sci-fi and fantasy panel rap. It wasn't in a racist context, by the way. They just like, oh, like a colored author or something. I wish I had the exact quote, actually. It'd be nice. But they didn't like call him like, oh, that colored whatever. It wasn't like that. So the romancing sci-fi and fantasy panel rapped. Instead of celebrating, I'm here holding grief and frustration over what happens when language is misused, regardless of intent. During the panel, Samuel R. Delaney's trailblazing work was referenced. He was also referred to as colored. Hearing this, I had an out-of-body experience. I typed, by colored, surely you mean black, into the chat, then deleted it. Seconds later, I deleted several more. Let's backtrack and restate that messages, feeling shaky and out of it. Like, one thing that's funny is that, like, I feel like we've had, like, 5 different ways to refer to black people now. Like, I think now where we're at, I think in news articles, I think you can actually refer to them as blacks if you put capital B, and that's good. But, like, I think 3 years ago, that would have been really offensive. Blacks? You mean black Americans, right? It's so hard to keep up with all the fucking jargon. And then, like, 5 to 10 years ago, it was supposed to be
Destiny. I know you're sick of Mr. Girl discourse.
It was supposed to be African Americans. Like, these were people with indistinguishable ancestry because of slavery. So they're the ancestors of slaves. You have African Americans. I don't think people say African Americans anymore because they consider that weird or racist. We can say blacks now. It's Jesus Christ. I know you're sick of Mr. Girl discourse. People need to start calling his latest video straight up abusive. I can't watch it on stream, guys. It's a fucking porn video. I'll watch it off stream when I have time, but I can't watch it on stream. And I'm not gonna watch like a 2-minute YouTube cut. But I love you. When folks fuck up, it's important to call that out, even when things are done in the spirit of warmth and kindness. Delaney's work was being praised, as it should be, but in that moment, the power dynamics left me speechless. I was the only black panelist. I'm a newer author without many publishing credits. I'm in my early 30s.
Stephen,
and
remember,
referred to as young during the panel. That's fine. I am young. Those aren't excuses, but they are illustrative of the power differentials at play in SFF, science fiction and fantasy. Now, though, I need to warn folks. Please take care if you plan on watching our panel. Some wonderful wisdoms were shared, but you're going to encounter that moment, and the silence might be suffocating. Remember the Pennsylvania event when I told you I would take you to see Morbius? Change your plans. Morbius coming to you. Get morbed on. Kid Obama. Nice. The sad thing is that, like, somebody probably could have just said, hey, like, person of color, right? Not colored person. And I feel like the author would have been like, oh, yeah, of course. And then it would have been done. Like, boom, easy. But instead, nobody said a thing. They waited until the panel was over. And then this person got kicked out of the conference. That is correct. And no one mentioned to her that it was an offensive thing to say at the time of the slur. They all waited until it was over. Then they booted her. The woman who was offended said nothing. Then used Twitter to tell the world. This is so fucking disgusting. Fuck! Get me out of here, dude.